Hello and welcome back to the Red Path. Today we're going to start a series entitled The Axe Itself Incites to Violence. This video is based on a tactical article I wrote for 8th edition. The premise of that article was imagining your use of World Eaters on the tabletop akin to that of striking something with an axe, from the raised position to the final blow. Our first part today will deal with the raised axe, or how to deploy with your World Eaters. So, imagine a figure standing with an axe raised above their shoulder. What message is it sending? The intention to me is clear. The strike is imminent. There is no subtlety, as with a knife, no suggestion of a duel, such as with a sword, no poetry that might be found with a spear. No, the axe is simple. Its sole purpose is to cleave, and that's what matters. The World Eaters are a simple army in general to play. Simple, however, does not equal stupid. Now, when I wrote this for 8th edition, it was during the time period of whole army deployment. One player would set up all their units, and then the other would set up their units. Currently, we're in an era of I go, you go deployment mechanics. I expect this to change, but the principles are the same. Imagine the scenario. You're at a tournament table against an opponent with a strong list. They begin to deploy their first unit, intricately measuring distances to objectives, visually checking line of sight between terrain features, frequently micro-adjusting their models. Then it's your turn. You drop a rhino, front and centre of your lines. You give them a nod to let them know that you're done. No fuss, just confidence. Your opponent repeats their exact positioning, and again, you drop your second transport front and centre. Over and over, this process repeats. Now, one of two things will happen. Your opponent will assume you're a weak player, someone who doesn't really understand the finesse of tactics or strategy. Or, they will begin to second guess themselves, worrying about if all their precision is deemed worthless in the face of your brazen positioning. Either one of these outcomes is acceptable. In the former case, your opponent will underestimate you, and that is how you want your opponents, mistaken. In the latter, their confidence will be disarmed and allow you an opportunity to seize the momentum. By telegraphing your deployment, by clearly raising your axe, you are doing one thing. You are declaring that you will swing. The axe will be delivered to a point in your opponent's line, and no matter their trickery and tactics, the blade will still swing. Now, obviously a gutsy assault deployment, like the one I'm describing, combat units and transports deployed aggressively, is not always going to be the most appropriate. And here's where the tactical side of things come to play. Currently in 40k, there is no real way to stack the odds of going first or second. Some deployment styles can influence your opponent if they win the right to choose. So for a moment, think like an ultramarine. Consider the theoretical and the practical. Whether playing it out in your head on a long drive home, or trying it out on the tabletop. Practice. Set up terrain and objectives in fairly common layouts, perhaps layouts more disadvantageous to you, and deploy your list without consideration of where your enemy deploys. If you run 3 rhinos and 3 mauler fiends, for example, how do you want them to work in round 2? Are the fiends there simply to hold or contest centre objectives? If so, deploy them with shortest distance to centre objectives. Are your rhinos intended to deliver berserkers into cover for a countercharge? Deploy them beside terrain, and about 12 inches from another piece of terrain. So, if and when your opponent destroys them, whether they've moved or not, your models inside can fairly safely disembark out of line of sight or into cover. Make it muscle memory to quickly deploy units that you use in particular areas of the battlefield. Large base monsters, such as mauler fiends, need plenty of room to move, so don't position them near narrow corridors. Infantry are more versatile but generally slower, so give them shorter distances to their intended objectives but worry less about ruins and obstructions. By simply practicing a quick, confident deployment based on what your models can achieve and what you want them to achieve, you can create a psychological dilemma for your opponent. Raise the axe. Show them you're coming for their skull. Let the indecision or overconfidence be their problem. Once you've put them in one of these states, you have a weakened opponent, and that is when you begin to swing the axe. And that downward swing is what I will cover in the next part of this series. Thanks for listening to this video, and I hope it helps you on the tabletop. As ever, if you liked the video, leave a thumbs up. If you didn't, leave a thumbs down. I'd appreciate a subscription from you if you haven't already. And please go check out the Red Path Facebook group to stay up to date with all channel related news. As ever, stay healthy, stay safe, and kill men better.